Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dr. Daniel McCamey. I'm the founder, CEO, and president of DMPs of Color. We are excited to present our pathway to publication, the peer review process that will be presented by Dr. Glymph. Just before we get started, we just want to go over a couple of the session guidelines before we get into a wonderful presentation. So first, as we all know in the Zoom environment, if we have any questions, please put them in the chat. We'll be moderating it and elevating your questions as we move through the presentation. Also, please drop in your LinkedIn and social media information in the chat for networking opportunities. We have such a rich network here, so please feel free, if you're comfortable, putting in your contact information and your area of specialty. And at the last 15 minutes of this session, please raise your hands to be unmuted to pose any questions or areas of comments or clarifications that you might have at the closing of the talk. And remember to stay on mute. As you heard, this session is going to be recorded. And if at the end you find that you still have any more questions or you want to connect with Dr. Glymph or any one of us with DMPs of Color, please email us at info@dmpsofcolor.org. And also remembering we are mission focused and just reading our mission as DMPs of Color. We serve DMPs of Color through networking, mentorship, and advocacy to increase diversity in doctoral studies, clinical practice, and leadership. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce my mentor and also our speaker for today. Dr. Glymph is the Enrollment and Global Initiatives Coordinator and Clinical Associate Professor in the Nicole Wertheim College of Nursing and Health Sciences, Graduate Nursing Department at Florida International University. Dr. Glymph started his over 20-year career in nursing as a licensed practical nurse and continued to advance practice certified registered nurse anesthetist. He is also a fellow in the American Association of Nurse Anesthesiology and will be inducted as a fellow of the Academy of Nursing. And without further ado, I will hand the stage over to Dr. Glymph. Thank you so much, Dr. Glymph.
Thank you so much, Danielle, for that great introduction. I want to thank everyone for their time during the lunch hour. And as I was reflecting on trying to get the most meat out of this conversation, I wanted to make it interactive and more informative. Many of you have sent in from the survey several things that you were interested in. So I want to go right into that to give you some insight. As Danielle has stated earlier, I've been in academia about 10 years. I came in 2011. I came from clinical practice, as many of you are either in DMP programs or you are clinical practice DMPs. And so I came from clinical practice and I went into academia, took a huge step, had really no idea in terms of what it was to publish or what it is to publish. And I had a mentor. His name is Chuck Biddle. He's the editor-in-chief of the ANA Journal magazine. And he said, look, I'm going to give you an opportunity to be on something that a lot of people would like to be on. And that's to be a reviewer for a journal. And I said, well, look, Chuck, I never have published. He said, you will. And what I tell you that story because that insight, probably 20-something publications later, it gave me insight onto what right looks like, that it was not some mountaintop experience that I could not obtain. And so one of the questions was, how do you become a peer reviewer? How do you become a journal reviewer? And one of the things is to the opportunity. I think one of the questions was, what journals do you read? Many of you read a lot of journals that are focused on your clinical practice. And they're always looking for opportunities. They're always looking for journals or peer review people to review articles. I serve on 2 editorial boards, and I can tell you, I really enjoy the work, but it really gives you an opportunity to look and to see the cutting edge research that is going on, and actually to see how you can improve somebody's writing. And what's so nice about when we review an article, very few articles, first of all, are perfect. When you submit them, there's always some kind of needs improvement, or you need to fix this in order for it to be published. And so what I say is, do not be discouraged when you submit an article and it might not get accepted right away. It might be minor revisions or a lot of revisions. But oftentimes what I've told them when I mentor people is to tell them that follow those instructions from those reviewers. And for the most part, if you follow those instructions, you have a good chance of getting published. Unless they completely reject your article, if they do minor or major, you can work on those revisions, submit it, and get published, and get your article published. Very important to critically review journals on a daily basis. You should be reading something that is either pertinent or something that you're interested in. Many of you have articles that you at work, or journals at work. You have to spend time, at least 20 minutes, probably a day, to review articles. Another big topic that came up, well, what is some feedback you have had when you submitted an article? I've had articles rejected. I've had articles that they have said, hey, you need to fix this or fix that, and I fixed it, and in turn got published. One of the first things that you have to do is the particular article that the journal that you're interested in, look at their author guidelines. And many, the author guidelines are the roadmap to success. Many journals take systematic reviews, they take case studies, they take interesting, many of you say your DMP projects, but the DMP project is so huge that you really have to cut it down to a publishable format. Maybe you can publish your lit review, or maybe publish your discussion or your methods. These are type of things that you have to see what, if you look at your project that it's really, you feel like it's worthy or will be impactful to clinical practice, that's something that you can get published at later on. And then, I think it's more of a persevering, it's just kind of like running a race. Sometimes you run a race and it's like, oh, I ran 1 mile, and I'm almost done. So it's kind of the perseverance in publication that is so key. What type of articles are you thinking about submitting? I have psychiatry, I have mental health, nursing practice articles, nursing education, research, DMP, telehealth, and all, so to find the right journal is key. And then AACN articles or journals or whatever journal that you read a lot is the kind of key to kind of see what kind of articles are getting published. How often do you read journals? And a lot of occasionally, frequently, rarely. What topics are you interested in? What journals do you read? Have a variety of different articles. And so I think the major thing, and I want to kind of see what kind of questions you have so I can kind of maybe dove in to help guide you a little further. Some questions in the chat. Okay,
here's a question. What if you submit a manuscript and implement the feedback, but it's still rejected? Do you keep submitting it?
Well, I mean, if you submit an article and you follow the recommendations, and they still reject it, then I would send a letter to the editor and kind of find out. You can find out more guidance. The editors are always interested to talk to people that are submitting articles, because that's how the journal stays in business, is to have people that are submitting articles. So I would look for guidance from that. It's been my experience, whenever you do that, then you have a good chance of getting it published, unless it's completely a topic that the journal's not interested in. There's another question. How long on average are you given to complete your peer review? It's usually about 3 to 4 weeks. And it's usually, they give you a time. I think I have one now that I accepted. They usually send you the article and you have to accept or reject. And I always accept, because it's a great opportunity. And then they give you about 4 weeks to review it and to see it.
Dr. Glymph, I just got a question sent to me. If you could just explain exactly what a peer reviewer is and what type of skills or training does one need to be a peer reviewer?
A peer reviewer is somebody that reviews a particular article that is published. Is based on your expertise, based on your clinical expertise. To say you are a reviewer. I'm a reviewer for 2 anesthesia journals. Okay, of course, I'm a CRNA. So it's based on your expertise, based on your clinical expertise, and what you do is you review that article for clarity, for clinical relevance, for evidence-based. You look at from everything from the introduction to the main, to the methods, to the references. So it's a complete deep down dive into that article, and you give feedback. And I just reviewed the article, and they were doing something related to human subjects, and they did not mention IRB. So the question right away was, you did something with subjects and you said this was exempt. Yeah, you definitely have to know methods and research in terms of those proper techniques to give a adequate peer review on that.
Okay, there's another question in the chat. What is your experience with journals that require you to pay a fee to submit an article?
That's interesting. I have never paid a fee for an article, but I was involved with the a journal from a colleague that they paid. I think they paid like $250 for an Access journal to publish the article. So those experiences are out there, and there are some fee for service articles, and it is a way to get your, if that is something you're interested in, or you have availability. I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's a great access to get your article published.
Okay, the next question is, should I submit to multiple journals initially?
You got to be careful with that, because a lot of times, if it's the same article, they'll ask you, is this the only one that you are submitting to? So how that usually works is you really have to do your research on that particular article, the journal or the piece. I would, first of all, if it's a particular topic that I'm writing, I would um, actually write to the editor and ask them, hey, this is my topic. Is this something that your journal would be interested in? So get that feedback initially. If they say, yes, this is great, I think this would be a wonderful article, then proceed. And then what the question I think the deeper question that you're asking in terms of, so usually you do one journal at a time. So if that journal for that question before if it rejects you, then yes, go into the other journal. So another journal. So again, it can be a long process, but perseverance and you defining the right article, defining the right journal for your article is key.
Okay, another question is, how long on average are you given to complete your peer review? And do you have days, weeks, or months generally?
I thought I answered that. 3 to 4 weeks in general. They give you about 4 weeks to complete it. And then you get nasty grams from the editor saying, hey, I need this article done, because it's usually, and what the peer review is usually 3 people that look at it. So it's the editor gets the article and then he assigns a peer review to look at it. So when a journal is peer reviewed, that means multiple people have viewed it. So the article that I just reviewed, a total of 2 people reviewed it. And so what they do is articles reviewed. I said there was major revisions need to be done. The second reviewer said there was major revisions, and then the editor reviews it also. And so based on those 2 reviews, then he assigns and sends it out to the author to let them know, okay, the reviewers state your article needs major revisions, or you are willing to do these revisions, then we would like you to continue to submit your article. If you're not, if you say, hey, no, I don't want to do these revisions, then you can stop right there and maybe you can submit it to another article, another journal.
Great. Sorry about the repeat question. Another question is, what is considered a good impact factor? And do I need to be concerned about this when I'm looking to submit a manuscript for publication?
Well, the impact, what the impact means is kind of, it's the power of, of how many people view your particular article. And, there's varying interests. For example, I think, a high impact factor would be double digits, or at least greater than 1. The particular article or journal that I review for, they have a not so great impact, but again, it's so specialized, and a lot of nursing journals might not have that great impact because they're more specialized. So I think holistically, what you have to look at is where do you want your article to get the most impact in terms of whether it's clinical practice or whether it's research, from that aspect where you're coming from.
Great. Another question is, when I write an inquiry to the editor, am I including an abstract or just a brief intro on my topic?
I would say just start off with just an intro to your topic, because you don't want to give too much. You just, that if what I've done is, if it's a particular topic, say, hey, I'm doing, I have an article writing on, say, opiate use disorder. That's my research topic. Opiate use disorder adherence. Would this journal be interested in it? And the editor going to say, yeah, that's a great topic, or he can ask you for some more details. But you don't want to give them the abstract or anything, because then that's you're submitting it before. If you're going to do all that, you might as well submit the article. And what was the other second part of the question?
Sorry, it was, the question was, oh, I just lost it. It was, when I write an inquiry to the editor, am I including an abstract or just a brief intro on my topic?
Just to be, yeah, the brief intro to the topic. And again, the editor will give you more feedback if they want. I can give you a classic example of one of the journals that I recently, you've heard of the drug kratom. I wanted to write an article piece on that, and the editor said no, it's too experimental, and they weren't interested in it. So you know, that's something that, you know, I'm sure if I go to a different journal on that, then I can definitely find somebody that will be willing to publish it. But at that time, and then what I encourage people to really do is to work in teams, really work together. You see many journals, they have multiple authors. You know, the teamwork in publication is a very good thing. So what I realized early in my career is that when you get people that are interested in similar topics to you and you work together, they do a piece, you do a piece, and you come together for the to get an article published. And that's, I think that's one as a clinician or academic, work together as a team. Find people that you have similar interests and that you can steal some time away to write. I mean, we all are very busy people, and it's very challenging. But if you can write an article, I did an article with a FNP colleague of mine on Wilson's disease, and we published it over the winter break. So you know, if you can find people that have similar interests and you can work together, I really encourage that. Is there another question here? Peer review for the JHBN? Okay. Sometimes the journal will call for reviewers. This is how I became. Okay, good. Yeah, exactly. I mean, hey, when they call out or they send, or sometimes they'll make you a guest editor, and that's a guest reviewer, and that's kind of a trial period. And so really do a thorough review on that, and that will help the editors. I mean, the editor, you know, they have so many journals that come through their desk, and they really depend on the reviewers as their eyes and their ears and their gatekeepers. And so when you do a thorough review, it really makes the editorial job much easier. And those that are wanting to publish, reviewing articles, if you can become a reviewer of a journal, it will help you out tremendously. It will help you become a better writer. It'll help you see the different things that you need to improve on. And the other aspect I would say is work in teams. Get 2 or 3 people that you are interested in publishing, and you break up a particular article that you might be interested in, and you get it done. And it's really rewarding. Just like somebody said in the chat, I agree with the teamwork and authorship. It really makes, especially in academic or different things in your career that you need publications. This will really help you out along the process.
We have a hand raised. Janice Kane, if you'd like to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Somebody said, here's a question. Can you ever refuse to review an article or journal asked you read? You can refuse. I can tell you, I did that early on when I first got it. I was busy. I said, oh man, I can't review this. I don't have time. And my mentor gave me a hand slap and said, hey, look, people would love to be in your in the opportunity for you to review. He said, so that's your warning. So in other words, so I don't refuse anything now. If I get, I steal away time. And I found that it's made me sharper, and it's made me a person that and what I'm and he's told us, be critical but understand, be kind, because we want people to continue to submit articles. We don't want to tear somebody down to the point that they're like, oh man, I'm not going to ever do this again. So and look for hope to, in other words, don't, but I can tell you for the last couple of years, many people have they have put or published their DMP projects, and it's not really publishable material because it's so broad or so narrow. I would say work with somebody, work with the editorial before you submit that, because I have rejected a lot of those DMP projects that have come through sometimes. What was the question, Danielle?
Janice had her hand raised, but I don't think she actually had a question.
Okay. Well, this is fun. So hopefully this has helped. This insightful is, just this dialogue. And I'm really interested to find out more, so we can remove some of these barriers about peer review process. And I can remember, again, like I said, I tell you my story. When I came to academia, I was like, oh my God, I never published. It's so hard. And my mentor simply said, hey, I'm going to give you an opportunity to be a reviewer. And I'm like, what? But I've never done it. He said, well, you will. And I think to do that is to understand that we are capable. We can do. All we have to have is opportunities. So look for opportunities for review. And there's some student journals that you can review for or ask to be a reviewer for. And I think a lot of times once you see it, then you can say, okay, I can do this. And many case studies, especially if you're in clinical practice, there's tons of case studies that you might come across that is very valuable as evidence-based practice to people.
So there is a question in the chat. Are open access journals legit or predatory?
A lot of them are predatory, and you have to do your research. There's a list, and I can send you that offline, and we can get that to everyone about a list of predatory journals that are out there. And I usually get a list every year, and we'll pass that out to Dr. McHenry, so she can pass that out to everyone that is on this line.
Great. I have another question. I am a DMP student and struggle with APA. To excel as a peer reviewer, must I have expertise in APA?
Well, that's an interesting question. Many journals use AMA. APA is usually for academic writing, but most journals, they use AMA. So, but that's a minor editorial component. What we're looking at is content. Of course, if it's the APA or AMA is not right, it's going to send a red flag for you to correct. But that's not going to be a showstopper if the content is good. Hopefully that answered your question. Yeah, but Sarah had a great insight and experience as an editor. The peer review is primary for expertise content. The copy editor is for journals with catch APA or AMA. But it's as a reviewer, you look at everything, and so you might make a comment. They tell you don't mainly look at the content. But you know, if you notice something, especially with AMA, if the numbers are off, or the references are off, you will definitely mention it in your review to give insight to the author, so they can have a little bit more understanding. But great question.
Another question in the chat is peer review always done on a volunteer basis?
Now, if you are on an editorial board, or if you're on a journal's editorial committee, then the editor will, you know, it's something that it's about, yeah, I guess it's a volunteer basis, but I'm saying you're on this journal's editorial board, so it's kind of your service. When they send your article, it is volunteer, whether you accept it or reject it, in terms of accept to review or reject to review. Again, like I said, if you reject the review more than one time, you're probably not going to be on the editorial board very long, because they're going to need somebody else to that's willing to serve.
How do you get into an editorial board?
Well, that's reach out to a journal that you're interested in. Contact the editor. Like I think it was mentioned in the chat, a lot of times they're always looking for peer reviewers. So those are opportunities that you reach out to that particular journal and say, hey, look, I would love to serve as an editor or a reviewer. Or peer reviewer for your journal, and this is my expertise. They'll ask for your CV, and so if you have clinical expertise in that particular topic, they're always looking for people that bring a different perspective to that. Janet said, I'm a CRNA and OR full time now in the DNP program. Do you appreciate case studies? Get your feet wet. Yeah, case studies are great. You know, if you have an interesting case that you come across, I know the ANA journal definitely looks at case studies. They also look at journal courses. So a particular topic that might be rare, that you come across in primary or in the operating room that is interesting, those are great studies. And with the journal courses, they're usually honorarium, so you actually get paid for writing them. There's also one particular journal that I sit on. They actually give you, for writing an article, they give you $3,000. So that's a great piece of money that if you have an opportunity to write for that, and they're always looking for articles that are interesting and evidence-based. That probably lit everybody's ears up. They heard $3,000, right?
Do you or any reviewers you know provide mentorship for DNPs who would love to start doing peer review work?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can, we you know, that's what DNPs of Color is all about. It's about mentorship. But I've given you some guidance right now. A particular journal that you're interested in, the first step you need to do is find out the editor's email and send them an email. and say, I would love the opportunity to be a peer reviewer for this journal. Here's my CV. This is my, I've been working in this particular area for years. I bring this perspective, and from there, go from there. So that's the first step to becoming a peer reviewer of a journal. Again, find out a particular journal that you're interested in, or you read a lot of, or that's it's important in your clinical practice, or important in your, and that's something you're interested in, and go from there. But Cassandra, how you get on editorial board? You have to be invited to get on that. For the ANA journal that I'm on editorial board, you actually have to apply for it every year, and then the president of the ANA, they appoint you that every year. How I got on another editorial board is, again, one of my mentor mentioned that there was an opening, and I was able to get in that. My area expertise is palliative care, but I limited my reviews to advanced care planning and do 4 to 6 reviews a year. Okay, well, that's great. What Lolita, if you unmute yourself, what has been your experience with that?
It's much more manageable because although sometimes they'll ask me to look at pain or some other areas, I try to just remain focused on advanced care planning because it is very, it can be very time consuming. So, yeah.
How do you plan out? They give you about 4 weeks to review, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, usually it's about 4 weeks. Like, actually, I have an article now that I'm supposed to be reviewing, and I started, sometimes, I mean, you really have to be in, set aside the time. You can't be multitasking because you really, need to dedicate us, whether it's 3 hours or 2 hours. And so that's what's happening. This has been a busy week for me. And so I have this article that I'm sort of halfway through reviewing, but now I got to kind of go back and look at it. So you really need to have some dedicated time when you're going to review these articles. So, and so this is like maybe week 2. So I'm hoping that maybe over the weekend I can dedicate a little bit more time and get it done.
And Lolita, you just said a mouthful. Usually when I just accepted one this week, I haven't had an opportunity to review it yet. But what I usually do, like you said, I read over it, I think about it, and then really, if the author has took enough time to write an article, you want to give them a good review. And I take that responsibility very intentional, because I want to give you good feedback. I want to give you good guidance in order for you to get this particular article published, if it's that, or maybe give you some suggestions that might make it better, or maybe even publishable. So just like you said, it's something that you have to, especially we're very busy people, so we have to carve time out. And for me, a review usually, like you said, it takes on average about 3 hours completely from the time frame, or if I'm looking at it, then I go back, then I think about it some more to really give them some good feedback. It depends on how long the article is too. Are there any concerning consequences if you do not complete a review within the 4-week time frame? 4 weeks is usually enough time to do a review. Again, on the occasion when I've kind of got really close, I've got an Instagram or email saying, hey, please complete the article review as soon as possible, because what you do is when you don't complete a review, you create backlogs. So the sooner you do your review, the sooner the editor is able to give the author some feedback. And sometimes they're waiting on, there's, like I said, there's 2 reviewers usually for every article. And so the one reviewer might finish early, then they're waiting on the second article reviewer. So it's, just suppose one person might say, hey, I accept. And then your review is like, no, I reject. And so then the census is, the combined is, they would have to do a revision. So in other words, the 2 peers have to agree on the article in order for it to move forward. Did I answer your question in terms of consequences? Thank you for that feedback and perspective, Lolita. All right, we're getting down to the 15-minute time frame. So I'm interested in your perspectives, or you've had a lot of great questions. Hopefully we've removed some of the barriers or the big scariness of publishing and peer review. It's just something that you just, you do, and it's part of, as being lifelong learners, as we all are, that it's something that we can become better at. Just like writing. Are there any set guidelines you use to review an article? That's an interesting question. There is, in terms of, I look at the whole body. I look at the introduction to see if it's clear, if it's concise. You're saying, like, if there's do I have a rubric? I have a rubric in my mind in terms of what I'm looking at. I look at if it's clear, concise. I look at if I was just a reader and wasn't in this field, would I understand it clearly? I look at, are the terms clear? I also look at, many times, what can be said in writing. Also, a picture can say 1,000 words. So I look at, sometimes to give guidance to the author, it suggests that they might need to put a picture or a diagram here to make it more clear. And I look at the methods. If the methods does not make sense, if it's a research article, then the article really does not hold its weight as far as evidence base. And I look at the references to make sure the references, there's no, you go into references, the references are up to date. They're, within five years. They're not too old unless it's historical. That's my guidelines that I use. So we're opening up for some questions now.
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your questions. The floor is open.
Derrick, I want to.
Yes.
I think that there is a. Trying to remember. I think there's like one of those tutorials or sites where you can go and learn how to be a peer reviewer, but I just can't remember. Are you aware of any? Because it was a while back, some years, where I had looked at something like that. Are you aware of anything like that?
No, I mean, there's I know our journal, they're changing over to a format for reviewing articles. I think it's Excelsior or something like that. I have to look into it. But in terms of I've never heard of that before in terms of site. But what I tell people all the time, if you have a particular topic that you're interested in, reach out to the author. your clinical expertise, where you worked in. They're always looking for people that has that perspective or insight that can bring value to that journal. Any other questions? How did you guys, let me get some feedback from you. How did you guys like the format instead of visual? We're just communicating dialogue, just so you can get some better understanding.
It was great, in my opinion. I definitely learned a lot. Thank you so much for your time.
Good, thank you. Well, I mean, I think the perspective, we learn every day from each other, you know, hopefully, you know, sharing my journey or sharing my story, it really brings insight that, hey, it's kind of like, I remember when I was starting my journey in the anesthesia school, I was working in the ICU, and this person, I said, well, how do you get into anesthesia school? And she said, oh, you got to learn, you got to know math, you got to learn. And she made it so high and made it so, this mountain so hard to achieve. And I said to myself, I said, well, if it's all that hard, why are you doing it? In other words, you know, it's possible. Don't make things so challenging that no one can reach or achieve. And I think publication, pathway to publication, and understanding peer review. And we, you know, that when we hear peer review, that's kind of scary. But all it is you're looking is people in your discipline or in that particular area are reviewing your article, and they're there to give you suggestions. They're not there to tear you up and say, oh, you're dumb, you can't write. They're there to give you suggestions. If the first step, if the particular article that you think will be a good fit for that journal, send the editor an email and say, hey, look, I'm interested in this particular topic. Do they think this be a good fit for the journal? Work in teams. Working in teams is a great way to get publications, and look for other opportunities to be on that.
Great.
Oh,
Any other
great topic.
questions?
Great topic, yes. Barbara, that's a great topic. You said there's another question? Oh, there's a certified peer review course. Okay, very good. But again, I think one of the first steps you do is you reach out to an editor and let them know that you're interested. Maybe attend those conferences and connect, network with those people that are in the journal or on the editorial board, and from there, get insight to that to help them out.
All right, are there any other last minute questions? Please unmute and share or pose in the chat before we close out.
In our program, just a little, let's say, do you have a PhD as well? I feel there is a hacker. I actually I will finish my PhD in the spring. I do have a DNAP, and I'll be finishing my PhD. You're saying it's a hierarchy? In what way, Janice? Oh, there can be in terms of research focus and clinical based focus, but you know, there's value in both, and I think there's a need for both. I think it's important that we all work together as a team, and so that's my thought on that. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I don't look at it as high. I look at it as an opportunity to work together, because nursing for too long has ate their young and created barriers. But if we work together, collectively, we can accomplish so much. So I think it's very a great opportunity that we can work together. It has. I know we're getting close, but I wanted to say thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. I know time is very valuable. Thank you for this opportunity. My email, I'll put my email in the chat, so you can reach out to me if you have any questions or you have any opportunity that you want, you know, you didn't want to say it here, but you want to reach out to me. I will be glad to communicate with you and give you some guidance. Again, we are all here learning from each other. You know, it's not that I know so much as the opportunities that I've had, and I want to share that with everyone to hopefully give them a perspective and give them an opportunity also to do that.
All right, excellent. If there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and close out. Just wanted to announce some of our upcoming events. September 18th, we have another discussion with our Pathway to Publication Learning series, How to Read Author Guidelines, that will be led by Sarah Hauber. She's been in the chat. She's also here with us. October 11th, we'll be doing a panel discussion on balancing school, work, and life as your first year as a grad student. And then October 23rd, we are having our first annual virtual conference, and the theme is Docs at the Table, Promoting Diversity and Transforming Nursing Practice. Please register while early bird rates are still apply, and that ends September 13th. So go ahead and go to our website to register for our conference. And then November 13th, we'll be continuing on with more Pathway to Publication Learning series, where we'll be doing what does an editor of a journal do and how to write a query letter. And then December 8th, another Pathway to Publication Learning series, how to select an appropriate journal. Again, please follow us on social media listed below. And always you can check out the latest and greatest on our website at www.dmpsofcolor.org. Thank you all again for attending, and we look forward to seeing you on September 18th for our next talk on how to read author guidelines. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.